Tree appraisal. The expert in the courtroom, defending the value. We have traveled from the nursery to the field, and from the diameter tape to the complex math of the trunk formula method. But now, we've reached the ultimate destination for many high-stakes appraisals, the courtroom. If you're preparing for TPAQ, you aren't just learning to be a mathematician. You are learning to be an expert. And being an expert means your work is going to be scrutinized by people whose entire job is to find a single crack in your logic. Today we're talking about the do's and don'ts of expert testimony, the devastating impact of biased experts, and how to ensure your professional opinion survives the heat of cross-examination. Let's start with the hard truth. When you are hired by an attorney, there is a natural human urge to want to help the person paying your bill. But the moment you become an advocate for your client, you stop being a credible appraiser. In the eyes of the court, an expert's duty is to the truth, not the plaintiff or the defendant. If your valuation is $50,000, but you bump it up to $70,000 because your client is a nice person who lost a beautiful tree, you have committed professional suicide. A skilled opposing attorney will pull your methodology apart, show that your numbers aren't supported by the 10th edition guide, and suddenly, your entire testimony is thrown out. You haven't helped your client. You've sunk their case. So how do you stay bulletproof? It starts with the do's and don'ts. Do number 1, prepare. You should know your report better than you know your own phone number. You need to be able to explain every single deduction you made. If you gave a tree a 60% condition rating, you need to point to the specific field notes, the trunk cavities, the dieback, the root zone compaction that led to that number. Do number 2, stay in your lane. You are a tree appraiser. You are not a structural engineer, a real estate agent, or a lawyer. If an attorney asks you a question about the structural integrity of the house next to the tree, the correct answer is, that is outside my scope of expertise. And the biggest don't get angry. Cross-examination is designed to rattle you. An attorney might suggest your fees are too high, or that your measurements are just guesses. If you get defensive or hostile, you lose the jury's trust. The best expert witnesses are the ones who remain calm, professional, and anchored to the data. One of the most common mistakes experts make is assumptions rooted in speculation. Remember episode 3 when we talked about retrospective appraisals? You're looking at a stump and assuming what the tree looked like. If you call that assumption a fact, you're in trouble. You must label it an extraordinary assumption. The difference is subtle but vital. Speculation is, I think it was a healthy tree. An extraordinary assumption is, based on the growth rings in the stump and the condition of the sibling trees on the property, I have proceeded under the assumption that the tree was in fair to good condition. Let's talk about the final report. This is the document that will be entered into evidence. A TPAQ standard report isn't just a cover letter and a spreadsheet. It is a narrative of your logic. It should include your scope of work, your effective date, your methodology, and your final opinion of value. The 10th edition emphasizes that the opinion is yours, but the method belongs to the industry. By citing the Guide for Plant Appraisal and the CTLA standards, you are showing the court that you aren't just making up numbers in a vacuum. You are following a peer-reviewed, nationally recognized process. As you head toward your TPAQ qualification, remember that the qualification is a seal of approval. It tells the legal community that you have been trained to handle the pressure. It tells them that you understand the difference between price and value, and that you have the discipline to follow the math even when the results are surprising. Being a consulting arborist is about more than just trees. It's about integrity. It's about being the person who can walk into a room of high-powered professionals and speak for the green infrastructure that can't speak for itself. That brings us to the end of our tree appraisal series. We've covered the foundation of value, the CTLA and professional standards, the assignment and effective date, the technical precision of measurement, the power of site and setting, the reality of the cost approach, the extrapolation of the trunk formula, and finally, the ethics of the expert witness. If you've listened to all 8 episodes, you are well on your way to mastering the concepts for the TPAQ. My final piece of advice? Go back to the source. Look at case studies. And most importantly, get out into the field and practice. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the world of tree and plant appraisal. Good luck on your exam, and keep making the world a more valuable place, one tree at a time. You've been listening to the Arborist-podcast. Our goal is to grow our collective knowledge, one domain at a time. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to help us keep this momentum.